G'day guys, Marky here, and welcome back to yet another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoy today's stories, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie. Let's just get right into it. Cheers. Posted by user Appropriate Elk 2603, titled, Am I the asshole here for telling my brother he cannot stay with me over Christmas if he brings his prosthetic leg? My younger brother has a prosthetic leg. I think it's creepy AF, and I have no idea where he got it. I'm reasonably certain that it's something that I would rather not know. To be clear here, my brother has two perfectly healthy legs still attached to his body. He just has this thing that he takes with him everywhere. I don't know why. I don't want to know. Before you ask, yeah, it is probably a mental health thing. He wanted to stay with me rather than our parents while he is home for the holidays. I said he was welcome to stay as long as he doesn't bring that thing into the house, and he said that it wasn't a big deal and that he would leave it in his luggage. I agreed on the condition that if I saw it outside of his luggage in my home, then I had the right to destroy it. He backtracked on staying with me and is at our parents' house, where he is miserable. They still treat him like a little boy instead of a guy who is almost 30. He called me again after supper and asked to please stay with me. I said he could so long as we together took his thing and put it into a storage unit until he leaves, and I get the key. He won't do it. He says that I'm being a biatch for not letting him stay with me. I think he needs to get therapy or medication, or both, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, dog, cat, hamster, something. Just not a goddamn prosthetic leg. In the comments, Chris1986 says, I know this is extremely distressing for you, but I'm laughing so hard. At first I was like, is this asshole serious? She won't let her brother bring his leg? Like his whole ass leg that he needs to walk because he literally lost a leg in some horrible accident? But then you clarified that both his healthy legs are still attached, and I lost it. Not the asshole, but you and I are not the same. I would need to know. All of it. Where did you get it? Why do you have it? What do you do with it? Did you steal it off a bum or something? And then I would stare at him uncomfortably until he broke and told it all to me. I may later regret my decision, but I don't often think that far into the future when something catches my attention. An emotional support prosthetic leg? That's a new one. Her brother won it in a raffle, and it came all the way from France in a crate marked fragile. The leg is actually a lamp, and it wears a black fishnet stocking, a black high-heel shoe, and a fringed lampshade. I'm a prosthetist, and I have to ask, what does this leg even look like? Below knee or above knee? Does it have the pylon bare? Or is there foam covering so that it sorta looks like a leg? Is there a foot shell on it? Or is the foot component just sorta hanging out? The reason I'm asking is because A, prosthetic anything is mind-bogglingly expensive, and B, you can't just have a prosthetic leg if you have two perfectly healthy legs. You literally need a stump to make one that's specifically yours. Did your brother receive it from someone? Did he steal it? And just to be sure, it's an actual prosthesis and not a leg brace of some kind. I've had patients in their families make that mistake before. OP says, it looks like a carbon fiber cup with a steel knee and a lower leg and foot. Oh Jesus, AK prostheses are not cheap. That's an entire car right there. I would actually grill your bro on where he got it because it is 100% not his. If he stole it, he's looking at felony and grand theft charges. If he bought it, check his and your parents' financials because again, these things are insanely expensive and he doesn't sound like the brightest bulb. Make sure he does not try to sell the prosthesis or any of its components. I get that they can be hard for the people who need them most, but if the components are damaged in any way, they can lead to gnarly injuries for when they inevitably fail. If you truly do want to get rid of it, there are organizations out there that will take old prostheses and refurbish them. Out of interest, what happens to prosthetics when their owner dies? Do they get refitted to someone else? Not the asshole for not wanting it in your house though. Unfortunately, the vast majority get tossed. The socket is specific to the owner, and you can't really adjust them to someone else's limb due to the material and the fact that everyone's stump is different. Components such as the knee and foot are technically reusable, but a lot of the time they've been used enough that you can't pass them on with good conscience. The only times I've ever seen components reused is if the patients tried them on during test fittings and they didn't like it, basically around 1 hour of use, or if they happened to pass away before they even got to put them on. Interesting. Let's hope OP's brother got the leg from someone who doesn't need it anymore. That's what I'm hoping too, though the concept of it still grosses me out. Prosthetic legs can get pretty nasty really fast, and nearly all the above-knee prostheses I've seen definitely had a funk. Even if OP accepts their bro had a prosthetic leg as a security blanket, they still shouldn't let it into their house until it's been thoroughly disinfected. And I mean thoroughly. Just running a wet wipe over it won't cut it. I once had a cockroach crawl out of the pylon. And now, onto the update. I didn't realize how much attention this was going to get, enough that someone informed the woman my brother stole it from, and she was able to figure out what happened. She called the cops and he got arrested. I guess he was sort of trying to do the thing where he could be the hero that tracked down her leg. Please don't ask me what the hell was going through his head. The leg was expensive enough that he is facing real criminal charges. That's all. Sorry there's no more to tell. In the comments, Golden Magikarp says, I remember reading this originally and wondering why the hell he needed to take that leg around with him everywhere. I feel like he would have returned it way sooner if he wanted to play the hero. Given that he was traveling with it like it's a security blanket, and it sounds like he's had it for a while, I was thinking that it was more of a sexual thing for him, rather than a hero thing. So weird and disturbing. Maybe playing the hero was just the excuse he gave when he got caught, because he didn't want to admit to some really weird sex stuff. That is wild. I wonder why he wanted to bring it with him though. Is he obsessed with the woman and has to carry the leg with him all the time? I mean, stealing it's one thing, but why carry it around all the time? If he tried to be a hero, he could have hid it. Sounds more like a weird obsession. I don't think he wanted to give it back to be the hero. I've got so many questions, but I'm glad the woman will get her leg back. This is something that I never thought that I would say. I don't know that the woman should want that leg back. There are a lot of weirdos when it comes to amputees. A friend of mine recently lost his leg to diabetes. No joke, the prosthetic costs about $80,000. Insurance is at least paying for it, from what he said. I can't imagine taking something of such practical and monetary value from someone. OP's brother is a real POS. Flannery O'Connor wrote a wonderful short story, Good Country People, which ends with a nihilist Bible salesman stealing a woman's prosthetic leg after she rebuffs his advances. I loved that story as a teenager because it was so dark. Never in a million years did I think that it could conceivably happen in this day and age. Our next post is by user ThrowRA titled, My male 27 family wants me to break up with my girlfriend female 22 after how she responded to my brother's 22 male prank. Hi Reddit, long-time lurker, first-time poster. I know how the title sounds, but I could honestly use some outside perspective since anyone else I could ask is biased towards the situation. I've been dating my girlfriend Lola for about 2 years now, and overall things have been great. My brother Ian has always been pretty weird whenever she comes up or is around. Ian and I are very close, talking to each other daily, but the conversation will usually change gears right as I start talking about anything Lola related. I thought maybe he was jealous of the time that I was spending with her, or maybe had a little crush on her. Still, whenever we'd get together, he would make comments about our age gap, poke fun at me for simping, and joke about her sleep disorder. Ian always enjoyed a good prank, either pranking or being pranked. He loves to laugh, and I genuinely believe that when he goes to prank people, he means it in a way to share the laughter. When he's tried to pull little pranks on Lola though, he does things that he figured out triggers her disorder, like making sudden loud noises, jumping out to scare her, and one time I caught him before he was going to do the shaving cream sleep bit while she was taking a nap in the guest room. I warned him in more detail that he shouldn't mess with her while she's sleeping, as interrupting her regulated cycles isn't good for her, and at the absolute best, she's the worst kind of cranky when she's woken up. Ian looked like he understood, and I thought that was that. I threw a New Year's Eve party a few days ago and invited Ian and a bunch of mine and Lola's friends. Everyone was having a good time. My watch went off with the alarm that we set up for Lola to take a nap. She went off with a sleepy smile, and I kept partying. A while later, we all heard a scream, followed soon after by cussing and some breaking. I panicked as it was from my room where Lola was, and I ran through nearly kicking the door down to find that she shoved someone down and was yelling at them. I looked to see who it was and saw a spider mask that I unfortunately recognized as Ian's from years ago. I saw him scrambling to get away, but she only stopped when 3 of her friends pushed past me to pull her up and check on her before she ultimately passed out in their arms. Ian scrambled off the floor and ripped the mask off, revealing the work that she'd managed to do in the time that it took us to react. He started bawling, telling me that she was insane and abusive, that he only wanted to make sure that she wasn't going to sleep through the ball drop. At this point, everyone started yelling. Ian looked terrified and kept repeating that she was crazy and that I shouldn't be with someone who could do this to her boyfriend's brother. Some of my guys were yelling that if she did it to him, she could do it to me. All of her friends were screaming about how we should know to leave a sleeping girl alone and how it was creepy. Ian ended up calling our mum to tell him that Lola hurt him, and she's furious. Lola's friends ended up carrying her out against my protests, and my friends were nearly split down the middle. I remember standing there while everyone argued while the ball dropped, my mother calling me for the 10th time, and Lola finally texting me that she needs space to think. Since then, we have lightly texted. She's expressed that she can't shake her fear of what happened, but she still hasn't told me from her side what happened. Ian and my mum are trying to convince me to break up with her and chastising me for not helping or standing up for my brother when he was being assaulted, and also demanding an apology for not playing my part as an older brother. Ian has FaceTimed a few other family members, and now my aunt, who paid for both our colleges and the house my mum and brother live in and helped me get my apartment, is taking the 3-hour drive to make sure her boys are okay, which is stressing me out even more. On one hand, I know that family is family and I should do what I can to stand up for the people who helped raise me and become the person that I am, but on the other hand, Lola is my girlfriend. I adore her. I love her. I feel that I should be there to protect her. I don't want to push her boundaries, but not talking to her is a different kind of hurt. Ian is convinced that he was doing a well-intentioned prank and was wrongfully punished for wanting to make sure everyone was enjoying themselves. I don't know if I believe that, but I've known Ian for 22 years. Growing up, we were inseparable. I don't want to doubt him just because love may be blinding me. How do I approach the situation with Lola? How can I convince my family that Lola isn't a threat? She's honestly the most sweet and caring person. She just can't be woken up, and a part of me feels like she was pushed to that point. More on Opie's family and why he feels that he needs to be on their side. After my dad left, everyone on my mum's side came together to help get her back on her feet after she lost her house and was on the brink of losing her kids too. My mum had my sister and me young, and unfortunately she couldn't finish high school taking care of young twins, with my grandmother dying soon after. My aunts and extended family all came together to help raise us, get my mum the help she needed, and made sure that we had what we needed for school and life, and really saved us from not just homelessness, but worse. I have such high respect for my family because I know what they did for me. My aunt personally tutored me after I was diagnosed with a learning disability, and it's because of her that I made it to graduation, let alone college. I joked that I wanted to be like her when I grew up, and now to know that the same people that I owe my very life to are upset with a choice I've made has made me so incredibly anxious. I freeze up thinking about it just like I froze up in that room, and I don't know what to do. I love her. I know I do. I'm flustered. What makes Bro's behavior even worse, OP says, one of her friends from the party just texted me to chew me out for choking up at the party instead of standing up for Lola. A lot of choice words were said, but the thing that stuck out to me was her calling my brother insensitive for not only disturbing her, but using a phobia against her. It just clicked for me that he had a spider mask. Lola has severe arachnophobia. I know this, and I'm racking my brain trying to think if Ian knew that, or if it was just bad luck that he decided to pull this stunt with that. On what OP is going to do now, they say thank you to everyone who has shared their advice and opinions in the comments and DMs, even the more blunt and rude ones, letting me know that in not acting, I was hurting my girlfriend as well. She called me a few minutes ago and I was so happy to hear her voice, I'm still crying from getting to. She sounded quiet, not like her usual bubbly self, and she didn't say much other than to ask if I was okay and if we could talk tomorrow. I wanted nothing more than to keep talking to her. I apologized over and over, but she thanked me for apologizing and kept changing the subject to where I wanted to meet her tomorrow. We decided on this nice crepe and tea place that she likes, one of our first date spots, and then she hung up. I know now that I can't stay impartial. My aunt's going to be at my mum's soon, and I've been pacing my living room thinking of how I'm going to approach this with my family. I don't want to be rude, but I won't let my tone or language stop me from doing what I should have done in the first place. Ian's given a lot of excuses, but none of them make up for the bullshit he's put her through, and I let that slide for no good reason. After hearing her voice and how down she sounded, I feel ready for war. She might break up with me, and after reading all of your comments, I'm disgusted with my actions, and I would leave me too. Further in the comments, the bookish foodie says, "You don't actually need any advice, because if Lola has even an ounce of sense, she's your ex. Since this seems to have escaped your notice, your brother is either the biggest asshole, or in need of a good diagnosis, or both. I wish Lola all the best in life. May the idiots be far from her, and may she never have a bad hair day." Heavy on the diagnosis part. What sane adult in their 20s is still behaving like a raging creep? I don't see how OP doesn't see that, sleep disorder or not, any woman would be terrified if they woke up to a strange man in their bedroom. You do realize that your brother knew full well the extent of her sleep impediment, knew she had triggers, and used them against her? Once you've explained to him why he can't do that, and he keeps doing it, how can you defend him and try to act like he didn't have malicious intents? Of course he did. Or he just didn't care about anything other than to see her scared, no matter how it would scare and scar her. He is a jerk through and through. You should already be dumped, really. You found your brother in your girlfriend's room, her fighting him off, and you didn't even stand up for her. Yep, there is absolutely no grey area here. The brother was 100% in the wrong. Correct. A single woman, sleeping alone, awoken by a man in a mask? I'm sorry, what part of assault culture fantasy world does he live in that he remotely thinks that's okay? I'm pretty sure that if a man in a mask tried to wake me up from a dead sleep, cops would be called, because that's goddamn assault. Forget about her sleep disorder, this alone is traumatizing enough. Then when you add on that the brother knew about her disorder and triggers, there is no question that this is not a well-meaning prank. Quote, "He does things that he figured out triggers her disorder. Please break up with her, so she doesn't have to suffer knowing her boyfriend will throw her to the wolves because her terror is funny." Yeah, OP lost all confusion credibility with this one line. He doesn't know if it was malicious? The hell he does. He wrote it in his own post that his brother is an effing asshole. And now, on to the update. To everyone who has reached out to me with advice on how I can learn from this shitstorm, thank you. To everyone that has helped me to understand that just because family has done a lot for you, it does not mean that you're indebted to them and can't have an opinion or life of my own, thank you. To everyone that has reached out to me telling me that I'm such an idiot, I suck as a boyfriend, they hope that Lola leaves me, they wish that she beat the both of us up, thank you. This won't be a full update as a lot happened yesterday, and I frankly don't have the time to get into everything with police and packing to deal with. In short, while a lot of you advised that I wait for Lola to tell me her side before I confront my family, they all came over to my apartment yesterday morning while I was writing out a list of questions for them. I was supposed to go over the night before, but I texted them saying that I needed time and if we could meet later today. But they obviously didn't like that and then showed up unannounced. The fighting started almost immediately, and I initially was thrown off by them being there, but I matched their energy and started yelling back at them for their predatory and enabling behavior of Ian and how I couldn't believe they would side with him over this, golden rainbow baby aside. My aunt got in my face about disrespect, while my mum cried and brother cussed me out, but I pointed at my computer and yelled back at them that if they genuinely believed that Lola was the problem, then they were victim-blaming idiots that I wanted nothing more to do with. My mum kept crying, but I got my aunt's attention with the computer, and she got close to look at the screen. I was going through comments to write up all the questions, and after a minute, she turned back to us, really, my brother, and said, "What is this?" I explained Reddit and that I'd posted for help. Ian then stopped comforting Mum and pushed past me to get to the computer, asking what right I had sharing family business on the internet. My aunt stopped him and asked, "Why didn't you tell us that you were alone with her? You never told me she was sleeping." To say that all hell broke loose would be an understatement. Like a switch, my mum almost immediately stopped loudly crying and looked over at my aunt confused. Ian started shaking his head and then reiterating his version of the story, which, listening to it, was infuriatingly off. I'd figured out that not only did he tell Mum and our extended family a version of the story in which Lola was all too violent with him when he jumped from behind a door to give her a little spook, but he left out the details that put him in any bad light. I started yelling again, calling him a liar, but he started crying and calling me a liar who was just trying to lie for my girlfriend. At the sight of my brother crying, my mum pleaded with us to stop. My aunt scrolling more on the screen. It felt like both a minute and forever that we were yelling in each other's faces about how the night went, how I felt he always used his tears to get away with things, him yelling at me about how ungrateful I always was, etc. Unfortunately, I forgot where we were and didn't keep the volume down at all, and sometime later there was a knock on the door. I didn't know who it could be. Some dumb part of me hoped that it was Lola. I knew that it wasn't, though. It was two officers, answering to a noise complaint from one of the neighbors. Feeling stupid, I plainly explained that no one was hurt and we were having a heated argument, but that no one was in danger. I did let them look around and talk to my mum and brother, but my aunt spoke up when it looked like they were just going to give us a warning. "Actually, I think it's good that you're here. My nephew has something that he'd like to report." She motioned to Ian, whose eyes looked between her and the officers quickly. My aunt still looked angry when she first arrived, but she was glaring at Ian. You know, hypothetically, if someone touches or hits you without permission or a justified reason, that's something you can and should report. Is there anything that you want to say? There was silence, eyes moving to everyone around the room. My aunt didn't look encouraging in a report. It hit me that she was calling him out. I stared at him. His eyes were bulging. He looked as panicked as the other night when he was trying to get away from Lola. One of the officers asked if everything was all right, and like clockwork, Ian started bawling his eyes out. My mum asked him what was wrong. I told her she had to stop babying him. He's been lying to you guys. My aunt asked him again if he had anything to report. "You were up in arms against this girl this morning. Where'd all that fire go? Did she hit you or not?" It took a while of us pushing him, but he finally admitted to the room that he didn't have anything to report because he didn't feel like she'd be rightly prosecuted. His next story sounded closer to the one that I knew, where he admitted to knowing Lola had gone to sleep and wanted to scare her so she'd wake up. I still don't believe his reason why he wanted her up. That he put on a mask. I asked if he knew that she had a phobia. He said he knew she found them creepy, and that no, there was no one else in the room with them. He couldn't get any of our friends to agree to the prank, so he did it himself. He said he started making sounds against the wall the bed was against, and then got close to scream in her face. He said she woke up and surprised him because he thought the stress and panic would cause her to scream or hide, but she went for his throat instead. He described his beating to everyone in the room, some of which I saw had the officers look at each other and then back to him, and that's when I pushed the door in. The door wasn't locked. I just panicked and didn't think to use the doorknob properly. I just threw my body at the door, and the rest of his story is what I was there for. I'm sure if the police weren't there, I would have hit him. I know I would have. My mum started crying even more when he said that she was sleeping, a fact that changed his entire story, and my aunt chewed him out. Everyone scolding him for his stupidity and asshole behavior, while the officers explained that it sounded like if what he said was true, then Lola acted in self-defense, and that not only what he did was juvenile, but one of the officers asked my mum's permission to question him more as his behavior was concerning, and they wanted to make sure that he wasn't a danger to himself or others. My aunt and I told the cops that he was 22 at the same time, an adult, and they didn't need her permission. He looks a lot younger than he is. Upon hearing his age, one of the police officers sat down with him and asked him to talk through his thought process, and the other officer explained to my mum and aunt that Lola could press charges given Ian's story. My aunt still looked pissed, while my mum cried about being confused over her baby. My mum literally looked at me and said that she didn't understand how her baby could do this. I already knew that I was deep in the bullshit of this family, but I realized that I couldn't grow in the earth that poisoned me, and I needed to get away if I was actually going to get better and stay away. My mum kept fussing with my aunt and another uncle on the phone, crying over the drama, while I texted a friend of mine who lives across the city if I could stay with him. I was feeling overwhelmed with all of them, and I didn't want to be within a few minutes of the source of the problem. I also wanted to give myself space to think and understand with a clear head. I'm typing this between breaks of me packing. My aunt saw me in my room doing this, but she didn't stop me. She only asked me if I'd spoken to Lola about this, and I told her that I haven't yet, but I had plans to later on. She told me she was sorry for believing my brother, without listening to any other account, and that she hopes that Lola is okay. So then it was just me in the apartment. The cops left after taking a statement from my brother and I. My mum left with my brother, still crying, my brother calling me an asshole, the world's worst brother, and my aunt gave me a hug, apologizing again for how she and her sister acted, and told me that I don't owe her anything, but that she'd like to know that Lola is okay. With everyone gone, I went to my friend's house, and I'll be there until further notice. He couldn't make it to the party, but he heard about it from multiple people. As far as Lola, yes, I did meet with her yesterday. As excited as I was to see her, I know that most of you were telling me that she was going to break up with me, so I'd been preparing for that. Whether I ended up single or not, I wanted to make sure that she was okay above all. I know I don't deserve her as a girlfriend, and I'd much rather she not be with me if it meant that she was safe. She brought a friend with her and we all sat and talked. I showed them both the Reddit post, and Lola has asked that I not share any more information about her until she feels ready herself. She's on Reddit for gaming and general scrolling fairly often, and let me know that if she came across this story without me having told her, she would have been pissed. She did, however, read a lot of the commenters worried about her and wanted me to express to you all that, while upset, hurt, and with mixed up emotions, she is overall okay. She doesn't like that I posted about her without at least giving her a heads up, but after I offered to take the post down, she only asked that I give her time to leave her personal life and opinions out of anything beyond what I've already said here until she says otherwise. In short, she did break up with me, and when I told her about the police telling us that she could press charges, her friend laughed and told me that they were more than aware. She thanks everyone for their concern and told me she really hopes that we both learn from this. This section was approved by her. So yeah, unless I'm forgetting something, that's all I have or can give right now. My mum has been calling and texting me, telling me that this whole ordeal has made Ian and her a wreck, and she can't believe that I'd let a girl do this to us. I blocked my brother right after he left my apartment, and I just blocked her. My aunt has let me know that she'll talk to her, but I don't know how that's going to go. I understand that this isn't what everyone wants, but none of this is anything that I want either. To everyone who has nothing but bad things to say about me, I get it. I'm an asshole. I appreciate any and all advice that I've been given, and I'm going to be taking a break from not only the BS in my life, but the Reddit stuff talk. I know I have a lot of growing to do, and I can't do that in this environment. Thank you again to everyone. In the comments, ZoobIn says, "At least OP took corrective measures and accepted the situation for what it was. Can't believe his brother killed OP's relationship and his perception of his family in one night though." I really don't think OP is an asshole though. He was just confused and took longer to process everything. He seems to have given his brother the benefit of the doubt while he processed what happened, although he could have better supported his girlfriend. The breakup seems more to do with not wanting any interaction with the brother. He failed her entirely that night and continued to do so when trying to make his family understand that she wasn't a bad guy. There were more comments from him in the post. He had blinders on the entire relationship when it came to his brother's creepy obsession with his girlfriend. She broke up with him because of his brother's actions and his inactions. Is there a single person in this story that knows how to communicate without screaming and crying? Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave you for today. I do hope you enjoyed the stories. With that said, I do hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.